This AI-powered agent can create SQL code, metadata, pipelines, and more with just prompts. The data engineering agent in BigQuery is here to help data analysts and data engineers do more in less time. This agent can take your prompts and help you become more productive by creating and modifying data pipelines, generating and modifying schemas, helping with troubleshooting, and assisting with metadata required for your own AI-powered applications. For context, I have replicated tables from Salesforce APIs containing information about support cases. My goal is to make it easier for my business users to consume the data and gain insights from it. I also want to make sure users have metadata available for AI agents. Let's see if I can show you the first iteration of an initial load pipeline in less than 10 minutes. So we start by creating a pipeline and setting it to the US location, which is where all of my data is. I will start by creating the dataset first with this very simple prompt. Create a dataset called SFDC dataset in location US. We can see the agent is creating the definitions for the dataset and compiling the pipeline, also checking for errors. Once it finishes, we get the SQLX definition to create the dataset. Now I accept the changes suggested by the agent. Then I run the pipeline so the creation step executes. And we can see this step is fast and successful. And just like that, I have a dataset. So we can now move on to something more exciting. For this example, I landed the data into a storage bucket just to show you how this initial load works. So let's ask the agent to load all of my files from the GCS bucket. I'm asking it to create physical tables based on the schemas in the Parquet files, to use the same names in the files for the tables, and I'm explicitly listing the files I wanted to use as a better practice for prompting. This will take a few minutes, but we can see it scan the data file by file. It's creating the SQLX definitions for each table and then is validating them. One thing I really like about this agent is that it gives an explanation of what it's doing and why after it finishes with each prompt. If we look at one of the tables it will generate, we have all of the fields from the Parquet files, followed by the data load operation that I requested in my prompt. Let's apply the suggestions and run our pipeline. And just like that, we have tables with data. Now, you may have noticed different timestamp fields in my tables, and these record different events related to support cases. I know that my users will want to report on this by quarter, so let's add a time dimension for them. Let's take a look at the definition it's created. And it looks solid. But before we run the changes and take a look, let's also enhance the cases table so that we can easily filter out those cases with profanities. Unfortunately, sometimes our customers are very frustrated and our cases table has these words in one of the text fields. We can use one of BigQuery's AI functions with a prompt to look for inappropriate terms. We can do this thanks to a connection I created to Vertex AI that's serving a Gemini model. We can see it has created a table that will be filled with all the existing fields, plus a Boolean field to filter out cases with profanities. So let's recap while this operation runs for a couple of minutes. So far, we have created a dataset, loaded the tables from the storage bucket, enriched the cases schema including an AI function calling Gemini served in Vertex AI, and generated a time dimension. All of this with prompts. One aspect we always want to take care of is data quality. So let's see what our agent can do to help us, and we'll choose the user table first. We can see it detected incorrect changes it tried to make during one of the validations, so it reverted them autonomously. This is super smart. For data quality, it's come up with checking for some fields not being null and for the email address to contain the right format. Let's check one of the definitions that will be later converted into assertion tests in SQL. Finally, we said we wanted to make this data available to AI agents for things like conversational analytics. So let's ask the agent to create metadata for our tables. And just as expected, we can see the metadata it has generated. As a side note, it's always a good idea to enrich this with your own business terminology and synonyms. but this has saved us a lot of time of dull and manual work. Let's run this pipeline and check the results. While this is running, we can already see the metadata applied to the existing tables. And if we go back to the pipeline, we can also see one of the data quality validations has failed, which is actually a successful failure because I know that my data has some issues. And as the rest of the pipeline is completing successfully, we can look into the generated tables and views. We can see our brand new dataset, the original tables loaded from a GCS bucket, a table using an advanced AI function to detect profanity, the time dimension we added through the agent, the metadata generated for each of the fields, and the data quality assertions. The agent generated this initial load pipeline, and the data is now ready for the users to get insights and make informed decisions. If you want to give this a try, check the link in the comments and let the data engineering agent in BigQuery make your job easier.